Hello and welcome to this video for this month's content on our community. Can we measure degrowth? So let me start from the beginning. Why we have chosen this particular topic for this month's content. We had a guest who is also our client from Textile Exchange, and after our recording of our podcast, guest in the podcast, sorry, uh, she mentioned, I just checked with her what are the things that is interesting to her, and what is the book that she's currently reading. And this is the book she mentioned, and she mentioned something called as degrowth, and it, like, I heard it for the first time. So I thought that for because our topic for this year is scoring methodology, it would be interesting to do a little bit of research, spend some time in reading the book and trying to understand, like, firstly, how degrowth will save the world, and also to understand what is the measurement criteria of a degrowth. Is it even possible? And I just heard the word, and like, I couldn't connect the dots, so I thought it would be a good thing to do a research. So this particular video. I'm just diving a bit deep after reading this book, after learning, doing a little bit more of a research on this particular topic, and bringing you a package, maybe a few within few minutes, maybe 10-20 minutes. Let's see what we can do. So firstly, about the book. So this is not a review of the book, but just wanted to share a few chapters, because for those who have not heard about this book, it may be useful, and a little bit of a context of what the book is talking about. So these are there are total 6 chapters. These are the 4 chapters that caught my eyes and gained my attention. The main core of it is, by default, the measurement of the world, the growth. Uh, like, if you see the use of fossil fuel, the growth of industry, carbon emissions, climate crisis, and all, uh, the ingrained uh, chase to GDP growth is what everything is kind of tied into, to become a number one, to exploit factory workers and things of that sort. So the book has a lot of interesting facts. It goes into the prehistory of uh, colonization, the landlord world, the birth of capitalism, and even how the introduction of GDP was accidentally opening a Pandora's box, and even the person who suggested it uh, has requested to use it with a caution, and it was uh, good for a certain growth period, especially for citizens who are poor, hungry, and like, when the country is poor or when the citizens are like struggling, then GDP is a good indicator for helping them out of the poverty line. But after a certain point, it it doesn't actually add an exponential uh, uh, to the growth of humankind in all. They talk about global north and global south, and there's a whole. It's a bit of a interesting conversation that the author takes us to. So yeah, so this is kind of a core of it. Uh, so yeah, it basically mentions, like, the only reason we are all chasing GDP growth is because we have made believe, but it's not. And so the degrowth, the word degrowth here is decoupling growth with GDP is the whole uh, uh, concept, if I may say. Okay, and plus there are a couple of ideas that has been suggested by the authors. Definitely, it's not easy to do, and it's radical, it's challenging, but uh, like, solving crime crisis is also radical, is what I believe. like it's a difficult task. So one of the idea was, he did a math or research where if we just distribute the income of top 1% to bottom 50%, that alone can bring a lot of change. Not the wealth, only the income. And that too, I'm not sure if towards a sustainable period, like within decade, things could drastically change. Plus then again, but it has a controversy of the capitalistic mindset, like the person who is in the top 1% have invested or put in a lot of efforts, hard work, maybe decade of his time and all. So there is a bit of a controversy there, but that's one of the idea that's a game changer. Another one was really interesting was, any country who has invested more in public health has improved the level of income, and how it's all linked, and of the free public health idea. I mean, the recent times, it becomes more than important ever. So which are the indicators then we should be focusing on, right? So if not GDP, then like what? So these are some of the indicators that has been suggested. And expectancy, well-being, sanitation, income, education, electricity, employment, democracy. So these are the few human indicators that needs to be measured. So instead of GDP, so this is the alternative that has been presented. So there's a concept of post-capitalistic economy, an economy that's been suggested, and how a well-being of a human being is not tied only to an economy, and how it is, how it can be good for both human society and environment. You can read the book to learn more about it, and that's about all the book. Now coming back to the core topic, uh, can we measure degrowth? So I went to the drawing board and I thought, like whenever as soon as the word degrowth came, like the thought that came to my mind is a ranking system where I should rank last. Like that's good, right? I mean, a way of thinking about it. So I found some of the indicators which, like, definitely you can do it at a corporate level, or with the corporate data with the same level of indicators. But I use the topic of country because it's a little more easier to explain in this case. So a country which ranked low in inequality, or use of fossil fuels, or natural resources emission, any planetary boundaries. Uh, so those would be the kind of indicators where you would want to rank low, basically. uh, the number of people uh, dying at an early age, and so those kind of indicators, that would be very interesting. So all these indicators which are not good for the overall society or well-being of it can be an indicator. Okay, so as a part of this, so what I have done is, so there are a couple of indexes that have been suggested in the book. So I've kind of picked five of them, and I will share you what all indicator that they are using. So normally, it's been said that it's more easier to create an indicator which is for, like, you rank, like that's how it's more productive and constructive in that way. Like, we don't want to rank ourselves last, rather than you change the meaning of an indicator, and for example, instead of measuring inequality, let's measure equality and see the opposite of it, and you rank first in equality. And that's pretty much you're measuring degrowth in that sense, because there will be a dip, and for some time things might not move economically as expected, but that doesn't mean it's bad or it's crashing. Okay, so that's the notion, and I think uh, it's it's fair. And of course there are this great economics, ecological economics, and even scientists, and great minds have come up with this idea. So I think it makes sense. So I've kind of taken five of the indexes, and uh, the uh, the measurement that they are doing, I'll try to let you know. Okay, the first one is Human Development Index. Uh, and what they measure is a nation's longevity, like the expectancy, education, and per capita income. So the idea is having a long and healthy life, uh, abundance of knowledge, and a decent standard of living. So those are the three main indicators that HDI uses. The next one is a World Happiness Report. Many of you must have already heard about it. There are always two. Whenever I bring this topic, this particular report up, even if in my friends and families, there is always two parties, and it's like polar opposite. But the indicators, we will focus on the score of it. So what they have used is using life evaluation, positive emotion, and negative emotion. The life evaluation is basically a 10-point scale question. Positive emotion and negative emotion each are of three core emotions of human on both positive and negative side, and the questions are yes and no, and end of it, it's averaged out, and that's how they came up the ranking. uh, Good life for all within planetary boundaries, a very interesting way of measuring it. So what they did is, you can basically compare here two countries, and they have created a donut chart with all the planetary boundaries of CO2 emission, material footprinting, ecological footprinting, land use change, blue water, nitrogen, phosphorus. Okay, you already know that. And they have also used social foundation. There are 8 to 10 of it, standard social indicators. So that those will be those are the indicators that they are using to help. And here I think there is a red mark to it. So if anyone exceeds it, the planetary boundaries, so they're not doing good. There is a ceiling there, and it's an interesting way of measuring degrowth. Now this is like a bit of an out of the box idea I found, like beyond GDP, an initiative by EU. And what they are measuring is like, they are not kind of uh, putting GDP behind, but what they're telling is it's not complete. So let's make it complete. Including GDP, they are adding environment and social indicators, and they are completing it, so it's beyond GDP, and the weightage is across like it is the weightage is added on it. So that a country's measure is like, if someone is growing GDP, like GDP is good, but their emissions are bad, so that brings the country low in the ranking, and that's how pretty much this one is working. And the last one is a Better Life Index. So it's by OECD, and they have this 11 topics, which is housing, income, jobs, community education, environment, civic engagement, health, life satisfaction, safety, work life balance. Okay, so that's the quality of the life. It's The numbers are out there. You can find it. I will put all the links. I will put the link of our podcast also in the comments below with Jessica, and all the links for this particular uh, the five indexes. You can see these are the links where you can go and learn about it. I think you might have known most of it, but if you learn one extra index, I think uh, that helps me to give value to the community. And that's it. Thank you very much. Let me know in the comments below, or let me message me if you found this research useful.